Hi, you've made it to an English language workshop about question words. I'm Maya, the new English language support officer at IMC. Welcome, let's question. In the next 10 or so minutes, we'll cover what are question words and why are they important, how to read and respond to questions, and the three main types of questions. After this, you'll have a turn using the different types of question words yourselves. So what are question words? Question words in academic settings are a little different to what you'd learn as a kid. We're not talking about who, what, when, where, why anymore. Instead, we're talking about the directive words in an exam question or an assignment that tell you what to do and how to answer. Directive words are important because they help you answer the right question rather than answering a different question. For example, are bananas blue? Both answers talk about bananas, but only the second answer is correct. Why? Because it answers the right question. Here's a more realistic example. What principles and rules govern the commencement of legislation in New South Wales? Again, both answers mention principles, but the first one is incorrect. Why? It's a good answer to the wrong question. Your lecturer can only mark a response as correct if it answers the right question. You could have the most intelligent, well thought out, well written answer, but unless it answers the right question, it's incorrect. So, how do we find and answer the right question? First, we need to make sure we read the question thoroughly. I recommend having two different coloured pens to underline or highlight. The first colour we'll use for the question cue, in this case, explain. The second colour will be for key information in the prompt. Here, that's delegated legislation and subordinate. Now we need an explain response that includes these two topics. Now it's time to write your answer. We want it to be super duper obvious to the lecturer that we know what we're talking about. To do this, your response should be clearly structured. First, you'll rephrase the question as a statement. For example, delegated legislation differs from subordinate, followed by signposting. Signposting is where you tell your lecturer where the answer is going to go, just like road signs when you're driving. Here, we signpost by saying 3 main ways. After this, we can provide 3 points of evidence that we've promised to give. But there's a problem with this. There are hundreds of different question cues. Are you expected to memorize the response to each one of them? Luckily, all question words fall into one of 3 categories, and we can use a similar response structure for each word in a category. Let's have a look at these categories. First, we have the simplest category, Type 1, knowledge-based answers. When you get a knowledge-based question, your answer needs to be knowledge-based. What does that mean? Well, with these questions, your lecturer is only looking to see that you've remembered course content. This is an opportunity to clearly show the objective facts that you've learned in that subject. Here, you don't need to give detail or evidence, and you don't need to provide an opinion. If this is complicated, let's imagine a real estate agent trying to sell you a house. He needs to make a good argument to convince you to buy a house from him. A knowledge-based response is like telling you, I have 8 houses to show you. My houses are in 4 different neighbourhoods, and they cost between $400,000 and $2 million. This answer has limited detail or evidence and no opinions. The agent has shared objective information with you. So what words cue a knowledge-based response? They're question words such as classify, define, describe, state, and summarize. If you want more detail about these words, you can have a look on the website. The next question type is type 2, analytical questions. This category is a little more complex. With analytical questions, you need to simplify information into its separate parts. You need to give evidence for each part and draw from multiple sources. By showing the parts that make up a bigger idea, we can better understand the whole. Let's think of our real estate agent example again. In order to convince you to buy a certain house, he's not just going to stand outside. He's going to take you into the house. He'll show you the 3 bedrooms, he'll turn on the tap in the bathroom, and switch on the oven lights. He's breaking the house down into each part, each room, and giving you evidence that these rooms are useful to you. When you look at the house from the outside again, you'll now understand why it costs more than a different house. So what words cue an analytical response? Here, we're looking at analyze, compare, contrast, discuss, argue, explain, and interpret. Again, you can look at the website for more detail about each cue. Our final category of question words is type 3, critical questions. These are the most complex questions, usually used at the end of an exam or for an essay. These questions require you to use the skills from knowledge-based and analytical questions, plus add your own justified position in order to draw a conclusion. While critical questions require your opinion, they don't just require any opinion. They require an opinion that is properly supported by good evidence. If we think of our real estate agent again, the response would be something like this. The best house for you to buy is house A, for 3 reasons. First, you have a young family and house A has a park nearby. Second, you don't have much free time for cleaning and house A is newly renovated and low maintenance. Third, you are working from home and house A has big windows which will make spending long hours inside much nicer. You might think that house B is a better option due to its price, but actually it's far from primary schools which will be inconvenient for you. In this answer, the agent has given an opinion. He's then justified it by breaking it down into smaller parts. These were the park, the renovation, and the windows. He has combined this information with a different source, evidence about your family. And then, importantly, he's provided a counter-argument. The counter-argument was, you might not like house A, but that is the wrong position to have. In this way, he's presented a strong assessment of why you should share his opinion. Now, how do we know when we need to give this sort of answer? We'll see the words assess, evaluate, critique, or criticize. Again, if you want more details about these words, they're available on the website. If your task is longer, like an extended response in an exam question, an essay, or a report, you might get a combined question. This is where there are more than one question cue in the prompt. For this, you need to answer both cues, and you can do this by using 2 separate paragraphs. A common combined question is compare and contrast. That is, asking you to look at both the similarities and the differences between 2 things. Now, I'd like you to pause the video and think about how you'd answer this question. Remember to first analyze the question with 2 different colored pens, looking for question words and keywords. Then think about what category this type of question falls into and how you'd answer that. And third, using the structure that we talked about, have a think about how you'd structure your response. Remember that we want to first restate the question, then signpost, then provide evidence. You're welcome to send through the responses that you had to the previous question, and I'll have a look at them and provide you with some feedback. If you have any other questions, you're also welcome to shoot me an email. My email is on the screen. Okay, now over to you, practice time. I want you to start with the Quizlet on the left, where you can practice categorizing question words into the 3 categories: knowledge-based, analytic, and critical. Then I want you to scan the second QR code to practice defining each common question word. These activities are really useful and I highly recommend you give them a go, or at least save them for future reference. Congrats for making it to the end of this video. Learning question words is a simple and easy way to improve your grades. I really hope it's been useful for you. And as always, if you've got any concerns, questions, or suggestions, shoot me an email, and I'll see you around.